This is a forensic detector gas detector. This specific one is their oxygen model. Right, so in the box we have the detector itself. We have a little card here. We have the user's manual. It says the model is FD101. We also have here a certificate of calibration, test and quality inspection, forensic detectors, QA and verification passed, Los Angeles, California, November 2025. So this detector uses an electrochemical sensor, and what that means is it has a shelf life. It'll work for about 2 years and then it's done. It also has a built-in battery, so I believe the battery works for about that same amount of time. So it is a consumable device. So you have the power button on the front, we have the O2 sensing area here, and then on the back we have a pretty hefty clip. So you know that guy will clip it very well to some cloth, or you have a kind of a D-ring for a lanyard or hanging. On the back it has this disposable gas detector, FD10102, range is 0 to 30% by volume of oxygen. I believe this X-proof means it's explosion proof. It says EXIB IIC T4GB. I don't know what all those mean, but somebody who's in the field probably knows what all those numbers and letters means. Has a serial number. Designed in the California, USA, made in China. It also comes with this little cover here, which I suspect snaps on the front of this thing like that, so that you can feed it with a tube. Alright, so they say it comes pre-calibrated at the factory. When you first turn it on, it's supposed to go through kind of a self-test setup. So we're going to hit the button here. Alright, we're going to push and hold the button for a while. There it goes. Alright, it says it's 2025, 1202, 500. And 30% by volume, just jumped down to 19.5, 23.5 for the high and the low, total weighted average, short-term exposure limit. Okay, I believe it is now done with its little self-test startup, and it says currently we have 20.9% by volume oxygen, which is good because that's what I was expecting it to be. Now there is a menuing system. If you double click the power button, it'll go into this menu, and then you can single click to get to the next item. And this is the heart with 22. It says, okay, I have 22 months of life left on my electrochemical sensor. And I took too long, so it went out of the menu. So double click into the menu. It currently says it's 5:01, I think, AM. If you press and hold, you're able to change and set the time, for example. So we're going to flip through here to 1500 hours. I don't know how it moves to the next one. I guess I'm going to try pressing and holding and see if that does it. Okay, that worked. So now I have to jump up quite a ways to 56. So zero calibration is this little icon here. Looks like a balance scale. You basically flow pure nitrogen over this sensor at half a liter per minute rate for 2 minutes when you go into that mode. Now for the span calibration, that's the icon that looks like, I guess, kind of a little sword. It has a circle within a line coming out of it. You basically just use open air for the oxygen sensor for that. But they say you don't have to calibrate it for the first year. Now it has an infrared sensor in here, and there is some PC software that has some type of an infrared transmitting dongle that can program this guy and change some settings more than the menu can do. And to do that, you have to go into the menu, and then you have to go to this place where it has these two little lines that say off, and hold that down to turn on the infrared reception. So the built-in limits, we have here the time weighted average, and it's basically 0%. And then we have STEL, which is the short-term exposure limit, and that's 8.4. and then we have the low. And for oxygen sensor, the low is really the important thing. It's 19.5. So anything below 19.5% oxygen is going to set off the alarm. So there's also a high setting. So high is 23.5. So if oxygen concentration gets high enough to be a flammability risk, this will also go off. Alright, so how do you test if the oxygen detector is working? Well, if you have a bottle of like nitrogen or carbon dioxide gas, you can flow some through this little testing cap here and watch the percentage go down. I don't have one immediately at hand, so what I'm going to do is mix a little bit of baking soda and vinegar and try to pour some carbon dioxide over the top of it in this thing here, and we'll see how that works. I'm trying not to make a foam explosion of vinegar and baking soda, just capture the carbon dioxide. So we'll see how this works. So I'm definitely getting fuzzing happening in there. Okay, it's going down. Oh, there it goes. Alright, so the light and the beeper's going off. I am not getting the vibration sensor, so it looks like by default the vibration sensor is off. When I took it out of that thing, it's 20.9 again. Put it down inside. It's starting to go down. There we go. So I have a canister with some carbon dioxide in it, and this canister is, 16.2% oxygen. So you can see that if a mouse or something was in that canister, it would have a little trouble breathing. 16% oxygen, you might not pass out, but you definitely would start to feel it. Now, speed of the sensor, when you come out of that low oxygen environment, you can see it's popping back up to 18, 19, and it's back up to 20.3. All right, bounced all the way up to 20.9. Put it back in. It's going down. Take it out. It's coming back up. Alright, by default this guy has the flashing light and beeping alarm. The vibration alarm isn't turned on by default. You need to use their software to turn that on. I imagine the vibration alarm might use extra power, so that may, if it hits a lot, may not make it last the full 2-year lifespan. So this is a sealed unit. It has a battery in it, and it basically says it's good for 2 years. Obviously, I won't be able to tell you if that's the truth or not for another 20-some months, but essentially, I don't see any reason it shouldn't be. The O2 sensor is electrochemical sensor. It should last for the 2 years. It's an LCD display, very low voltage draw, low current draw. So unless it's alarming, it's really not using too much power at all. So I could certainly see a battery in there lasting for 2 years. So feels very hefty, this, kind of it's not really a plasticky, it's very slightly rubbery. I'd say it's, it's a pretty hard plastic here. Heavy duty hardware, this thing, when you clamp that on to like a belt or something, that's not going anywhere. If you latched it to this guy, it's a pretty serious kind of industrial piece of equipment. I feel like, you could drop this and it really wouldn't bother it. So it says a sealed ER14335 lithium battery. There is a limitation that you should store and operate at less than 90% relative humidity. So I believe if the relative humidity is higher than 90%, the electrochemical sensor may not be as accurate. Alright, so if you're going high altitude, if you're going down into enclosed spaces, if you're working near large tanks of liquid nitrogen, liquid carbon dioxide, anything that could push oxygen out of the way, having a sensor like this is definitely life-saving. If it goes off, you need to get to a fresh air area immediately.